Once again, I will be league starting grenades in the upcoming POE2 patch, but first let's go over a boss showcase and explain how this build is going to work. The opener for boss killing on this build, charge up plasma blast. It's like a 2.5 second channel essentially, and then it makes this little zzz, and only then when you let go of the button will it fire this big railgun style attack. On this configuration, it'll do 60% shock, and in the next patch, in 0.3, it's going to have 50% more shock magnitude. So in theory, this will be able to hit up to the shock cap of 100%. Once the boss is shocked, I shoot all of my explosive grenades, and I shoot a flash grenade via explosive shot at the grenades. This detonates every grenade in sequence. You get this big... The last thing to note is that this was with a pretty mediocre crossbow, and this boss was a T4, like the, you know, all of the points, the map boss points. So it was a T15 map, it was a +4 boss. You stunned the boss 2 times, and, you know, generally it wasn't too hard. This is what I would say is like the average boss kill experience on League Start. While mapping, you're by no means a gigatank, but this setup uses hybrid evasion armor equipment and sits comfortably above 10k evasion and 5k armor. Flash grenade is the clear skill of choice, and you stun and blind the entire screen, which is kind of like its own layer of defense. You really just have to play it for yourself or just see what's happening on screen to really get a sense of how good this is. This build has the potential to pass 100% move speed with no buffs, no tailwind or no onslaught, and the movement speed penalties while reloading were also removed, so this build will just feel even better this patch, as Mark and Jonathan talked about during their reveal. This build takes 4 dual sockets, and I strongly recommend that you use these for life on kill. You can get 2% on Sapphire duels, and you can get an additional 2% life on kill with the cannibalism support when you socket it inside a spirit gem. This will get you up to 10% life on kill, and sometimes I go entire maps without using a life flask. It's really comfortable. For anything remotely dangerous, or maybe you just have a lot of enemies on screen, you can shoot explosive grenade and then detonate this manually with explosive shot. I choose to slot in magnified effect while mapping, as it just increases the area of effect of this even further, and honestly it cremates everything inside. It's really good, especially with just being able to see all the rares on the map, pre-firing for essences, detonate them and then roll directly on top of proximal tangibility monsters and they just all die. I will say though that the one thing this build struggles with in the current patch is breach. Breach just brings so many monsters, and you're a cooldown based build. Your uptime is not incredible. So yeah, it does kind of struggle. So do keep that in mind. However, with that said, the mortar cannon, which we get in the next patch, should help try and smooth this out. And I will definitely be testing that extensively with all the different grenade types, just to see what's best in different situations. Alright, so I'm going to include a leveling pub in the description. This is based on the current patch, so you could go and use this pub. I have loadouts for every single stage. Make sure that your tree and your skills and everything is just set up correctly. It's not that you have to do anything overly complicated, it's just I've iterated on this by practicing quite a bit over the past 2 weeks. And this is just to stay thematically within the ranged play style. Like obviously you could play whatever the speedrunners are playing, you could play maces, you could play quarterstaffs. Ultimately, I wanted to play crossbows. I'm going to play crossbows. You're basically at the mercy of what the vendors have, what drops, and what you can craft with the limited resources that you do have on a league start. So for this 1 to 33 lightning arrow loadout, I have lightning arrow and lightning rods if you have a decent bow, and then I have crossbow skills if you have a decent crossbow. Update your weapon as often as you can. The bases might be changing slightly this patch, so just look out for, let's say if you're level 10, there's a level 10 crossbow base. If you're level 16, there's level 16 crossbow base, etc. Some of these things might change. While you're checking the vendors, just try and keep this in mind. If you're using crossbows, when you reach level 7, you will have to take this random strength point. And I know it looks kind of ugly, like you zoom out and you're like, ugh, what is this? We're just going through all of this projectile damage, and then we will grab the accuracy stuff, grab the move speed stuff, grab this big projectile damage wheel, grab this projectile damage, move through more projectile damage, and then finish off at the two-handed weapons increased damage wheel. At this point, you'll be at the start of Act 3. If you want to play grenades, if you want to specifically level with grenades, this is when you will change to the bombard crossbow swap loadout. And you see that the tree has slightly changed. Most importantly, we are not taking the projectile damage nodes anymore, and we now have some weapon swap points. So what are these all about? Grab this wheel for an extra projectile and an extra cooldown use. This is an insane amount of increased damage because we will gain an additional projectile from the bombard crossbow and from cluster bombs. You're effectively tripling your damage and you have no downside like from the scattershot gem. On weapon set 2, I was experimenting with taking some intelligence so that you have enough to cast the new elemental weakness curse and also frost bomb. to make sure that you get some extra resistance shred. This is because in Act 2, after the hyena boss, almost every unique enemy has a bunch of fire resist. I would also experiment with some of the new crossbow skills that are being buffed or changed in the coming patch, as these are mostly cold damage based, and a lot of the Act 2 monsters are actually weak to or have no cold resist. So do keep this in mind. It's not actually in the skills section because, you know, I'm not a psychic. I can't just recommend something that I've never tried. With that said, we will continue leveling and then head further down the tree. You want to grab this 10% move speed on kill first, grab the jewel socket, and then path all the way down and take this node here, the attack area, take these attribute points along here, and then this will be everything to prepare you as you gain more of your weapon swap points. Once you have 24 weapon set points from doing every single campaign quest, obviously we're getting Act 4, so they're going to change, they're going to move somewhere else. This will be all of your weapon set 1 stuff, so you'll get 2 points here for 15% CDR, another 20% CDR here for 3 points. We're still taking this grenade wheel. We're taking some area of effect and CDR, area attack damage. 15% chance for grenades to activate a second time. This is just 15% more damage. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. You know, it's a bit of a gamble. And then just a bit more increased damage against rare and unique enemies to round out our 24 weapon set points. So for weapon set 2, you will want to path to this attribute node, either taking strength or dexterity based on what you need. And then you will path up here and grab this shock magnitude, some increased chance to shock here, and again, more shock magnitude here. Path down to this jewel socket as well, preparing once again. You want to grab this attack damage wheel as it has some movement speed, and also there's some movement speed here. And then, like I said before, once you hit 24 weapon skill points, you'll be able to take all of this shock magnitude, all of this shock duration. You'll be able to fit all of this in with the 24 points. Oh yeah, the reason that I named this level 59 cannonade crossbow, or cannonade crossbow, is that is the current level requirement to wear the upgraded version of the bombard crossbow. You'll always be looking for weapon upgrades, but this is a particular standout just because it has higher base damage than a bombard crossbow, and it has the same additional projectile implicit. Of course, you're just looking all of the time to upgrade your weapon, but also trying to get it on this base, one of these bases, the bombard and the cannonade. At level 79, you'll be able to equip a siege crossbow. Obviously, I'm saying this like I know the future, but this could change. However, on the current patch, it's level 79, and the tree will now look like this. It's slightly different, and we gain some additional jewel sockets at the bottom of the tree. That's where most of our skill point investment has gone to at this point. We've only gained 15 levels or so, but we've pathed out to grab this jewel socket. All of these have 2% life on kill, by the way, as I mentioned before. I really recommend using these. Anything else is a bonus. Some extra damage, some extra shock magnitude, some extra shock duration, etc. We grab this jewel socket, and then we use our weapon swap to grab some extra skill effect duration and some CDR as well. I've decided not to make a level 90 or 90 plus tree for Deadeye because the tree is changing. All of this could be bullshit. Like, all of these notables could do nothing. This could now make grenades detonate instantly, for example, and do like 30% less damage. We just have no idea. That's why I said earlier that this is a current patch leveling pop. This is something that you can go and try and just see if you like playing this, and then ultimately you will use this build as a stepping stone to then play something else. Maybe, for example, whatever Fub Gun is doing with lightning arrow, or maybe he's playing spears. Maybe that's too expensive and you just want something that's reliable and off meta that will help you build up some currency so that you can play the build that you want. Me personally, I want to play a crit build as well, and this is always what I play at league start because it's cheap, gets the job done. I like to farm expedition, I like to farm essences, stuff that I could just blow up and not really have to think too much or stress too much. All I really need is a big weapon and a moderate level of defenses, and I can just turn my brain off, put some music on, and vibe with people on Twitch chat. Okay, so while I was editing this video, I went to bed, I woke up. It turns out we got an update to the patch notes which buffed the Witchhunter Ascendancy, Weapon Master. So previously this would give you 24 additional weapon swap points for a total of 48. However, they've changed it and they've made it so that it gives you 100 passive skill points converted to weapon set skill points. So now if I change this loadout to New Witchhunter in all caps, like it's top secret, we now have up to 124 weapon set skill points, which I don't know. I'm personally not going to use all of those, but I found a pretty decent compromise after playing around for a while and discussing it with a few other people, and this is what the tree looks like. I have to zoom out all the way just to show you what this tree is. What the fuck? I can explain. I know that what you can see right now is questionable, but listen, I can explain. So just to clarify, this is all of the same equipment as the Deadeye. So let me just change this to this one. You see, like, okay, I put on a mana flask. All of the gear is the same. I one-to-one my crossbow from the showcase, the boss showcase. It had 377 top end. One of the pitfalls of Weapon Master previously is that you can't path through dual sockets on a weapon swap tree point thing, which means you have to do this like weird pathing around, and no, I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to keep my dual sockets. I just spent a while trying to plan out a pathing that let me grab these dual sockets here at the bottom, and we still take this one. So thumbs up, we still get all of our full dual sockets. We get to keep our life on kill stuff. Now we have to try and fit as many weapon swap points onto both of our setups as possible, and we're still keeping the plasma shot setup on weapon set 2. So as you can see, for the weapon swap 1, all of our evasion chance, all of our defenses, all of our damage, all of our move speed on kill stuff, some extra evasion, some CDR, defenses, crossbow stuff, extra damage, area of effect, and CDR. Sorry, this is skill effect duration, not AoE. That's all on our weapon set 1. You should take this too. This is a mistake. I didn't mean to forget this. I'll fix it, don't worry. We're still grabbing the shock duration and the shock magnitude stuff here, and then it starts to get a little weird. So we're pathing up and grabbing the shock magnitude stuff here still. This is normal, and now we keep going. Oh look, more shock magnitude. We keep going. Oh look, curse magnitude and AoE. What is this doing here? We keep going. Now all of this is swapped to intelligence. You've noticed that we're now stacking intelligence. We're stacking a lot of intelligence. I can't say the word anymore. I've said it too many times. We're grabbing some extra curse magnitude. We have to take this very weird pathing through the mana cluster because we can't go here because there's a dual socket in the way. We grab some intelligence here, and then we grab this other curse wheel for curse duration and a little bit of extra curse magnitude. All of this because we've decided to use either enfeeble or temp chains. Now in the upcoming patch, 2 changes to curses happened. One of them is that lower level curses will just not affect higher level monsters. We don't obviously know the specifics on this, but also attribute requirements were changed for skills and gear. So although this says 151 int is required for a level 16 temporal chains, and then I have 113 intelligence to 151, and then we take that like 3/4. This should be 113. This should be enough. If it's not enough, then I failed you all. I'm sorry. We should be able to cast a level 16 temporal chains or enfeeble and have 88, I think, percent curse magnitude. So you get around 25 to 26% slow with temporal chains and less damage for enfeeble, whilst also gaining the plasma blast shock setup with an insane amount of shock magnitude. I think that this hits either 90 or 100. I did too much math and now my brain hurts. But it looks really funny, but I think this is kind of sleeper OP. However, the main concession is you lose a projectile over Deadeye, you're not as fast, you don't have as much evasion. I would really only play this build specifically on Witchhunter if you just want to kill bosses. I wouldn't do particularly hard mapping content compared to Deadeye, because, you know, this is like 2 sides of the same coin. One of them's good at mapping, one of them's a little bit better at bossing. Now, I want to quickly explain why Witchhunter is slightly better at bossing. But first of all, I need to bring up POE2 DB, and I'll zoom this in for everyone who has eyesight issues. Witchhunter currently has an ascendancy, or 2 points, that are based on the concentration mechanic. And this is something that you have to deal damage to the boss up to 40% of its maximum life, and that will fully drain or break its concentration. When the enemy has fully broken concentration, it will have 50% less cooldown recovery rate, which is pretty insane for bosses like Zesht. For them to have 50% less cooldown recovery rate, they're basically just, they're not even a boss at this point. They're effectively doing half as many moves, and you're still you're still doing all of your bullshit, throwing all your grenades out, waiting for things to come off of cooldown. It's always been strong in a way that doesn't give you more damage, but it kind of just allows things to be easier. So we have to take Weapon Master because that's the whole jig. That's the whole point of playing this now that it's been buffed. You also get an extra 6% CDR here now. And you can take Zealous Inquisition for Explode. and there's rumors that this is being buffed and that a few other things are coming to the Witchhunter Ascendancy, but again, we don't know for certain. This works pretty well for Breach compared to Deadeye because the chance to explode is doubled on undead and demons, and all of the enemies in Breach are demons. So our flash grenades will have 20% chance on kill to explode enemies, and then they will chain explode everything. So it will just add extra clear to our Breach encounters. I think fourth, you will take No Mercy. It gives you 40% more damage, but this is conditional. You have to do 40% of a boss's life, and then you can do 40% more damage from that point onwards. As long as you keep hitting them and keeping their concentration at 0, you'll deal 40% more damage. Just a quick note on other ascendancies that you could play on this build. I think Tactician is very strong this patch because you'll be able to have 3 bombard cannons. You'll get 2 from having the overabundance support on mortar cannon, sorry, not bombard cannon. I keep calling it bombard cannon like I'm playing Age of Empires. You'll get +1 totem from the Tactician Ascendancy. You'll get some banner juice, but we're waiting for the new tree to really see how good that is. You could also play this on a ritualist. There's a very top secret, do not tell anyone about this build, Doriani's prototype lightning conversion gloves. They're called Valako's Vice. Yeah, Valako's Vice. And then you go Doriani's prototype with an extra ring and then increased ring effect and amulet effect, and then you just get like 150% minus lightning res, and all of your fire damage is converted to lightning. Please don't map with this build, it will feel like absolute dog shit, but you can kill bosses with it. You could play it as Pathfinder as well. Pathfinder is pretty good. I played that this league in 0.2. I league started as Pathfinder and it was just smooth. The less penalty is good. This node is being buffed. The evasion has elemental damage reduction to 50%, and you can also be immune to ignites so that you don't randomly die from damage over time. That's always nice. I was looking into playing this as a Titan, but first of all, I don't want to play a warrior build, and second, it relies too much on stun, which, you know, you do stun everything with flash grenade. I just think there's too much cool shit to try on other ascendancies to really bother with trying Titan, and I don't think it's the best hulking form build. I'd rather do something like Queen of the Forest later down the line, but I'm too busy yapping about me at this point. Anyway, this is the build. I'll link the POB. If you want to play Witchhunter with this or Deadeye with this, like I said, it's all in the loadouts. I do have a ton of notes, so if you really just want more information about this build, I spent a lot of time doing a write-up. I did some tips for leveling, a few other things about what's changed, some crafting changes, suggestions for Darkness Enthroned, and also map mods. Some map mods make this build really shit to play, so I would honestly give this just a quick read, do what you're told. Anyway, good luck on League Start, and thanks for watching.